Hey, all you awesome puzzle and quiz nerds. Let's dive right into it, starting with MapTap. Gossingen, Germany. Interesting. It sounds like a Scandinavian place, but it's German. So is it along the German Baltic coast, I wonder? It's a dangerous guess because it's far flung from most of the German population centers, along the Rhine, in the south. Huh. There's got to be a bunch of population up here, though. Let's kind of center mass northeastern Germany and see what happens. Nope, it had nothing to do with Scandinavia. It's like dead center in the nation. Okay. Kiev. Interesting. I assume. Would you assume Kiev is on the. Hang on. Oh, my Russian rivers. This is the Volga, right? Or is this the Volga? The Volga goes into the Caspian. Is this the Don and Dnieper system? There's something big up here, but that feels too. That might be it. It feels dangerously north. Like, I'm not positive that's still Ukraine. It might be Lviv. There's something else here that feels maybe more likely. I'm embarrassed I don't know about the position of Kiev at all. No, I should have gone with my first instinct. Absolutely should have gone with my first instinct. Bummer. Brisbane. Brisbane we can do. Biggest city in Queensland. Queensland starts about here. Pretty much draw a line halfway across the island, north to south. And I believe Gold Coast is like just above the border. But Brisbane is going to be up. Is this going to be it up here? This looks, where's this going to be? That looks more developed than anywhere else. How far apart are Brisbane and Gold Coast? Oh my God. My ignorance is coming home to roost today. Cairns is further north, but no, I think this has to be it. Maybe this is Brisbane and that's Gold Coast or something like that. Yeah, I'm going to assume this is Brisbane. Okay. Okay. Brisbane and Gold Coast are closer than I thought. Ooh, Kogvik. Oh, Barrow. Okay, this is the northernmost town in the U.S. and it's on the north coast of Alaska. There's a good chance this is it right here. Okay. I picked the wrong little prominent point, but there we go. And Djibouti City. Djibouti centered along this funky rift into Africa that's being created by the African continent actually like tearing apart. That looks like the city. Okay. So we salvaged a decent game, but I don't feel like we did well today. I feel like we didn't know Göttingen at all. We should have been smarter about Kiev. Pretty good on Barrow. We figured out Brisbane, but we should just know Brisbane better. Okay, I should stop calling it Barrow for one thing. It's called Utqiagvik. Utqiagvik. Yeah, I should be better about that. We don't call it Mount McKinley anymore either, do we? It's Denali. So I have no problem with Denali. I should have no problem with Utqiagvik. Got it. Okay. Not terrible. Anytime we get over 975, I feel good. Let's play Globle. Yesterday, our winning answer was Kyrgyzstan. We're 12,000 kilometers away today. Okay. Interesting. Far reaches of Africa, maybe? Like South Africa, Senegal. But maybe our better bet is into Oceania. Let's try the Solomon Islands. No, Kyrgyzstan, still closer. I feel like Europe is too close for 12,000 K. Let's try a South Africa. See if we're even looking in the right direction. 9,000 kilometers. Okay, I think we've made it to the Americas, but which way drill through Kyrgyzstan from Kyrgyzstan through the center of the earth? You might be popping out in Argentina. So that would be 20,000 kilometers. 12,000 is much closer. And yet we're 9,000 from South Africa. What is going on? I had this game dialed in last week, and this week I feel like I am lost with the numbers I'm getting. Okay, let's do a Colombia just to like center the Americas. Okay, 1,100 kilometers. So that rules out most of Central America. It might be something like a Belize, a Mexico, Northern Caribbean. Like it could be the Bahamas. I think we're too close for most of the rest of the Caribbean. It rules out Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru, Brazil, Bolivia, maybe. Suriname, maybe a little too close. How close is Colombia to like Key West, that southern tip of America? I was just looking, like, is it secretly July 4th and I hadn't noticed? Like I could see the US being an answer on July 4th. Cooler, wrong direction. Okay, that rules out Mexico, Cuba, Bahamas, so we're going south. Maybe Bolivia is the right answer. What is going on? What is going on? Suriname? 960. Okay, maybe we are up in the Caribbean. But okay, now here's something interesting. Puerto Rico is part of the US. Look, like that's been highlighted. Does that count for distances? Because if Colombia is closer than Puerto Rico, that means nothing in the Caribbean is valid. And yet Suriname's now closer. Like we know it's not Brazil, it's not Venezuela, it's not Guyana. It must be something in the Lesser Antilles. Like the Lesser Antilles are interesting because there's this string of islands, half of which are nations and half of which are territories of other countries. You know, you've got your Virgin Islands in there, you've got your Martiniques, but you've also got countries like Grenada and St. Kitts and St. Vincent and such. And then you've got this little country over to the side, right here, Barbados. Maybe that's it. We are closer, but we're not correct. Okay, so we're southern Lesser Antilles. We've got Trinidad and Tobago down here, but I think that's probably too far south. Then it's St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Grenada. And I had the order of those two backwards. Okay, now we're 50 kilometers away. What's next? Let me think. St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, they're up at the top. St. Lucia's in somewhere in here. Dominica's somewhere in here. Those will be my next guesses. St. Lucia? Wow. That was a terrible one. I don't know the last time it took me 11. So I think my first hang up on this today was Kyrgyzstan to St. Lucia feels practically other side of the world, but the game's telling me it was only 12,000 kilometers. So I wasn't looking far enough away from Kyrgyzstan to begin. In my mind, that feels like 5,000 kilometers further than the numbers the game gave. Anyway, okay. So 12,000 might as well be the other side of the world. Or maybe I was thinking over the Pacific when I should have been thinking west over Europe and the Atlantic. Maybe that's the closer. Maybe that was my problem. We can just see both of them on the far edges of the globe at the same time. Like I want to figure out this meta now. They're both in profile, and I mean they're not 180 degrees opposite, but they're not far off. That's what 12,000 kilometers looks like. They're both in profile. So that's an interesting tool to keep in the future, to at least estimate. All right. All right. Sometimes you need to suck to learn enough to become better. The right answer yesterday in capitals was Sao Tome, capital of Sao Tome and Principe. And again, we're 12,000 kilometers away. Interesting. So, based on that, put it on in profile on this edge of the world, it's not it would be a country that's just starting to appear on this edge. And there's no countries that are just starting to appear. All of the Americas have already appeared. So it's not in the Americas. Let's try the other way. Now we're getting into something. Western Oceania, maybe something like East Timor or Papua New Guinea. Let's try something like, let's try Timor Leste. You're not calling it Timor Leste, are you? You're calling it East Timor. And I'm doing the wrong thing. I'm playing countries when I should be playing cities. Okay, Dili is the capital of East Timor. We're warmer, but we're not hot. We're still 4,000 away. Interesting. It could be like Beijing, Pyongyang, Seoul. That feels highly possible. 4,000 rules out Southeast Asia, the Philippines, the Solomons. It probably rules out Canberra. I think Wellington might be too far, but who knows? I like this cluster up here though. Let's see if any of this makes sense. Let's try. What do we want to try? What's the logical move? Do you go for the closest one, the furthest one? Maybe the furthest one. So you can at least get the gradient. Let's try Tokyo. Tokyo's warmer, but that's interesting. Look how much this gradient cools off. The hot spots about here. The only capital I see. So let's draw this perpendicular. The only capital I see that's anywhere near that line, because Beijing's in northern China. Obviously, the Koreas are up there. Is capital of Taiwan. Taipei? There we go. Okay, so we had a good game of capitals. We had a terrible game of straight global, but at least we learned something big from it. We learned a tool, the 12,000 kilometer rule. Now let's just see, does that 12,000 kilometer, look, Sao Tome in profile, Taipei in profile. Not a perfect rule of thumb. Like if it was perfectly in profile, then so maybe that's more like 13, but still. Cool. It's a good rule of thumb. Let's play some word games. The right answer yesterday was acute. Let's see what that gives us today. This isn't a terrible starting word. We get a C, but no vowels. Okay, interesting. We have I, O, Y still available. This probably isn't the most logical guess, but it just kind of popped into my head. This is the kind of word that the New York Times loves screwing with its game's audience with. Nope, not at all. So we're left with O and Y, neither of which screams starting letter, which means we have to think of a consonant preceding C. Not a lot of those. In fact, the only one I can think of is SC. Now, this might be a double O, in fact. That might be our. I was wondering whether this might be an SCH start, but SCHO that's such a Dutch root that it begs a second O, and then you just don't have enough letters. So it can't be scoot. It could definitely be scoop. Could it be anything else? I feel actually like there's a high chance we've actually got it in 3 here. Nice. From a bad 2 to a perfect third, that feels like we use some good logic there. I like that one. All right, connections. Here we go. What do we have? Catwalk, Foxtrot, credit card, collection, boardwalk, designer, envelope, crosswalk, firewalk, income tax, billiard ball, model, short line, decanter, waterworks, barber pole. Well, we've got 4 things that end with walk. Normally, I'd say that can't be a connection, but maybe it could. We've got things that end with like pole and ball and line as well. We've got things that scream bills, debt. We've got things to do with fashion. That feels more like a connection to me. And then we've got monopoly squares. Are there any other Monopoly squares? Short line, waterworks, income tax, boardwalk. I think that has to be a connection right there. Catwalk, designer, collection, model still works, but the debt collector category has disappeared. So what's the new thing? We've got Oh, hang on. I just saw I was looking at Firewalk and Foxtrot, or Crosswalk and Foxtrot, and then like Foxtrot ends with trot and Crosswalk ends with walk, and I'm like, paces of walking, and I'm like, I was looking for something ending in run or something like that when I saw decanter ends in canter, and now we're looking at horse speeds, like horses walk, trot, canter, and gallop. Is there, of course, it might not be boardwalk, it'd be crosswalk because boardwalk's part of Monopoly and catwalk's part of fashion. There's also lope. Now, I'm not sure if that's a proper running, like a horse racing term, the way the others are, but it is definitely like a pace of pedestrian propulsion, however you want to put it. Now, it could be crosswalk or it could be firewalk. So that's the challenge. Which walk is it? We know it's not catwalk because catwalk's with fashion. We know it's not boardwalk because boardwalk's with monopoly. But one of the other two walks is with decanter, envelope, foxtrot. So what does that leave? Income tax, billiard ball, barber pole, and one of the walks. So, this is interesting because barber poles, billiard balls, crosswalks are all striped. Is my lack of the details of the US income tax form going to punish me here? Is there like a kind of federal or state income tax called stripe or something like that? You know what I mean? A crosswalk and barber pole scream striped. Half of billiard balls are striped. So it's like, this could be a category like things that could be striped or might have stripes on them, which is a little bit different than being striped. And that might be the word, the walk around, the verbal walk around to include income tax in the category. And so bold me wants to try this first because that seems tough, but it's not a wordplay one per se. The wordplay one would be firewalk, foxtrot, decanter, and envelope. But we're only saying it's firewalk because we think crosswalk is striped, which we're not 100% sure on. It really feels like it though. Okay, let's be bold. Let's try this and hope it's our purple. Ending. A lope is a horse gate. Okay, I haven't heard of that one, but I had heard of the other three. It all makes sense. Let's go for the stripes next and hope our logic was good. It was not. No. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'd already ruled out income tax because income tax is part of monopoly. What am I missing? Credit card. That's why it didn't make sense to me. I was looking at the wrong set. You guys were probably screaming at me for like the last 3 minutes. Neil. Okay, let's just make sure we've got this. The credit cards have stripes. Of course they do. That makes so much more sense. This is probably the blue, leaving us monopoly and fashion. Yeah. Monopoly beat. Yeah, you can never tell the difference between a yellow and a green. Great. That wasn't great. That bugs me. Technically a win, but I'm not counting it as one because I just was not paying enough attention. I apologize for making you guys scream for multiple minutes at me, for not paying attention to my own logic, but our thought process was still there. Shaking my head at myself. I hope you guys did better than I did today. please let me know your success stories on these challenges. Makes me feel better when I know somebody figured it out right. So thank you all for joining me. Looking forward to seeing you back here tomorrow. Until then, everyone, take care. Cheers.